Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Thank you all for joining us this morning for a webinar concerning Scytec DataXchange machine monitoring. This webinar will be an exploration and getting started guide for DataXchange. Now, for those of you that we met at IMTS, thank you for joining us here. This webinar is going to be catered a little bit more towards you guys, but for those of you that are new DataXchange users as well, we have plenty of information that you guys will find helpful and walk away with, some new insight on smart factory technology. So the first thing I'd like to do here this morning is go over an order of events for our webinar. And we're going to start off first with what are you looking to achieve with Scytec DataXchange? And we're going to run through a list of, usual issues that shop floors experience that DataXchange can help tackle. And then we're also going to be discussing how DataXchange connects to your shop floor equipment and pulls information off of them to then populate a real-time chart and dashboard with information about what is going on with your machinery, as well as we can discuss what are you looking to track and areas to define for practical DataXchange use, the DataXchange applications themselves, as well as going over some manufacturing charts and dashboards that are provided with the Scytec DataXchange machine monitoring platform that I will be running through a demonstration of as well at the end. We will also be going over the notification feature set that can be found inside of Scytec DataXchange so that you're always up to the minute and notified with what has been going on with your shop floor events. And then finally, we will end our webinar discussing some of the DataXchange resources where you can find out more information, as well as how we support our current client base. And we will also take some time at the end for some questions that you guys may have, as well as how to, further find out more information and how we can curtail a demonstration for DataXchange that can be a little bit more personalized for when you guys are ready to kind of take the plunge into machine monitoring. So the first thing I'd like to discuss here this morning is what are you looking to achieve with Scytec DataXchange and machine monitoring? So DataXchange has many benefits, and depending on what you're looking to achieve, it can be multifaceted. But to give you kind of a high overview of what DataXchange does, DataXchange collects information off of your shop floor equipment and then produces real-time and historical analytic reports to help solve hidden bottlenecks that you may not be aware of. And as well as solving hidden bottlenecks, you might be also unaware of some, shop floor wins that you weren't, privy to. But whether you're able to look back on the historical reporting side of things, that you may be able to get a glimpse into some things that are actually working that you weren't currently aware of. Now, DataXchange also promises to reduce machine downtime, as well as increase machine utilization and OEE, as well as provide the most accurate digital twins with CNC machine connectivity, our integration between Scytec DataXchange and CG Tech Vericut. I'll be going over that kind of at the end of this webinar as well. And with DataXchange, you can also meet deadlines a little bit sooner, get better quoting, win new contracts, as well as get information that your ERP just isn't, really reporting to enough metrics that you were looking for. So everything that I'm going to be covering in any one of these slides in this webinar, we also have another webinar that goes into that topic or feature a lot more in depth as well. And you can find all of those webinars online at scytec.com or as well as our Scytec YouTube channel. But I'd like to take here a quick minute of just talking about what some of our clients have achieved. And you can also find this on our website under our case studies pages, where you can find them both in kind of written format as well as video format. And we've had clients that have gotten an increase of 15% in their machine utilization, an increase in productivity, teamwork, and processes. We had another client that saw an immediate increase of 10 to 20% in machine utilization, and then a further increase to 30% with continued DataXchange use, as well as an increase in data-driven decision-making. And then we also had another client that saw an increase in capital saved, a decrease in cost per part, and an increase in part counts and utilization. And as I said, you can find out more about our specific case studies at Scytec.com under the Case Studies tab. Next, I'd like to talk about what you're able to track with Scytec DataXchange. Now, there is a whole long list of things that we can track inside of Scytec DataXchange. And if you look over there on the right, you can see a screenshot of our real-time equipment view. And there's two different machines there. We have a Doosan and a Haas. Now, that Doosan has been in a low override for 17 minutes. And next to that, that Haas machine has been in a normal cycle, meaning that it's been cutting for 13 minutes. And these are just some of the things that you can just show and track with DataXchange. But to kind of run through a list of some of the things that you're able to track to help tackle some of the issues that you guys are experiencing out on your shop floors. DataXchange can track machine downtimes, which can be split into both known and unknown and planned and unplanned downtimes, as well as machine utilization if they're cutting or in cycle, good and scrap part counts, as well as things as M1 and M0 stoppages, brakes, alarms, as well as I mentioned before, you can discover some hidden bottlenecks and then also be alerted via instant notification after an event has happened or a certain user-defined threshold has been crossed. Now, the first order of business we usually like to discuss when getting new clients set up with DataXchange is kind of getting connected to their shop floor equipment. And I'd like to discuss here real quick about how we do that. So as I said, this is kind of the first hurdle in tackling for a new DataXchange client. And we ask a few different questions, such as what kind of brands, how old your machines are, and most importantly, what kind of control types they are outfitted with, and if that machine has an Ethernet port on it. Now, modern equipment usually has Ethernet ports on them, and it's the easiest way to get up and collecting information off of your guys' machinery. And DataXchange can directly access proprietary machine control protocols, such as things like Fanuc Focus and Akuma Think. All major brands have their own proprietary protocols, such as Siemens, Mazak, and Heidenheim. And DataXchange is able to go and directly access those protocols and pull a very rich set of data from there that we will then use to populate the charts and dashboards that I will be showing you here a little bit later. Now, DataXchange can also use standard industry open source protocols such as MT Connect and OPC-UA. So when we do a more tailored demonstration of DataXchange to you, we normally ask for a machine list that can go over what machine types they are and most importantly, what kind of controls are on them. So let's say that you have a machine that is a little bit older. It's a legacy machine without any Ethernet ports on them, or you have some other stuff that you're looking to track as well, such as cobots and sensor types. Well, luckily for you guys, we have the ability to broadly connect to all sorts of different machines, as well as legacy machines as well, with what you're looking at down in the lower right-hand corner, which is a little PLC device that we call the SRC Status Relay Controller. Now, this Status Relay Controller comes pre-programmed and ready to work with your equipment. It ships from Scytec headquarters, ready to go. This is mounted to a DIN rail in the back of your electrical cabinet on a machine where it can then be wired into a different sensor types. Now, we have a whole little assortment of sensor types down at the bottom, including a current sensor, a vibration sensor, proximity and fill level sensors. And we can also wire those into things such as, or we can also wire our PLC device into things like thermocouples, humidity sensors, data listeners, barcode scanners, relays, and more. And if you look over on the far side of that PLC device down there in the right-hand column, you'll see a whole bunch of little ports. Those are where all of the sensor types can wire into in the back of your electricity or your electrical cabinets on the back of the machine. Now, for those of you that were here from IMTS, you might have seen one of our demonstration tables that had a kind of little setup with this on there where we were using a drill to kind of simulate a machine spindle being run and how that would then automatically pick up on one of the real-time dashboards. Now, we also do have a webinar that kind of goes over this demonstration that I just described that we're doing at IMTS as well. So if you're looking for more information on how you can, track information coming off of older machines, as well as things as cobots and sensor types, be sure to check that webinar out on our YouTube page as well. Next, I would like to describe some of the areas to define for proper data exchange use and some decisions that you'll have to make sure that you're getting the most out of your machine monitoring experience. Now, Scytec DataXchange offers 3 different main licensing levels, as well as a 4th platinum level. And at Scytec, we actually advocate to start off on the lower side with the bronze offering, which tracks things such as automatic cycle statuses, feed rate, and rapid overrides, as well as unknown downtime. And the reason why we kind of advocate to start off kind of, small with your machine monitoring experience is that we want this to be integrated in your daily routine with ease, so that it's not looked at, by your operators and other employees as kind of another added chore. This is meant to, seamlessly kind of be integrated into a daily routine. And then from there, once you're, up and collecting information off of machines, you can do what we like calling, which is growing with the data. So after this has been implemented correctly and your operators are using it, you can move up to different licensing level like silver, which incorporates more things that you're able to track, as well as a supplemental application that I will be going over here later in this webinar. And then up to gold, which you can start tracking things automatically like alarm details, part numbers, and good and scrap part counts. And then for those of you that utilize CG Tech Vericut, our platinum licensing level also incorporates our integration with that. Next up, another decision that you'll kind of have to define before really kind of getting started with data exchange is what deployment type to use. Now, we offer 3 main ITAR compliant options for deployment. First being our commercial cloud offering, which is the easiest way to go ahead and get started. We have people that are up and collecting information in under a half an hour if they have more modern legacy equipment. The cloud offering is low overhead, low cost, and it's the easiest way to get started for trials. No hardware is required. Now, we have a more beefed up version of our commercial cloud offering that we call our secure cloud, which is hosted on AWS GovCloud, where the data is encrypted at all stages of rest and motion. And this is for, contracts that might require a little bit more strict ITAR regulations. And that can all be abided by with our secure cloud offering. And then finally, we also have an on-premise deployment for IT departments that require an air gap and have really strict rules for nothing leaving your facility. And the on-premise solution is somewhat outright buying the data exchange software, where maintenance costs are done yearly, and the only bit of hardware that is required is for a company-owned web or SQL server. So finally, after you get up and collecting information off of your machines, you can do some kind of dividing about who uses what and how, where you can split up data exchange users into user groups, typically by employment levels such as managers, supervisors, operators, machinists, etc. And then you can also have data exchange be split up into different plant usage, where you can add and modify different physical locations inside the exchange so that different employees at different physical locations will be able to access different things, and then also even different equipment groupings as well. And then we also offer security permissions to see who has access to what inside of data exchange based off of their employment level. Next up, I'd like to discuss how we do equipment status definitions. So what you're looking over at on the far right-hand side is a screenshot of one of our data exchange manufacturing charts. And on the right-hand side of that, you can see a whole lot of different machine statuses, including tooling, quality, no material, waiting for operator, access setup, alarm, etc. And those are color coordinated to your liking. So everything inside of Scytec DataXchange is rule-based and 100% user-defined, meaning that you define what you want to see and how you want to see it. So typically for Machine statuses that are in cycle, machine cutting, we have those in shades of green, and those can also be things like high and low overrides, as well as warm-ups, followed by planned downtimes, which are usually in shades of blue and can also include things like breaks and setup, followed by unknown downtimes, which are in shades of orange, and then finally unplanned downtimes, which can be custom, and those can be things like no material, maintenance issues, or alarms. Next, I'd like to discuss the two main data exchange applications. One of these I'm going to be going through a demonstration here towards the end of this webinar, but that is data display. And data display is the most widely used by your employment levels out on your shop floor, and that is our browser-based reporting tool. And that can be accessed via phone, smart tablets, computers, laptop, etc., things that are iOS and Android enabled devices. And then below, we have our operator data interface, our ODI, and that is a supplemental application that is only available on the silver and above licensing levels. And this ODI, this takes the data exchange machine monitoring platform from being a machine monitoring tool to then a communication one as well, where you can get operator feedback for specific unknown and unplanned downtimes, and then see machine statuses in real life. And how I like to describe this is this little tablet that you see at the bottom of the screen. Think about that next to a cell of machines where you have an operator that is working on 3 to 5 different machines, where if you look in that image, you can see the different machine statuses. We have a Makino that is in a normal cycle, and below that, a Mazak that has been in an unknown downtime. Now, what you're able to pull off of a machine automatically is only going to be going on, what is inside the machine. There's always going to be some kind of extraneous force out on your shop floor, such as, like a operator going on a break or a tool breakage or something like that. And your operators can report this stuff via this little tablet application to make sure that you're getting the most accurate and non-skewed OEE information possible. So next, I'd like to discuss our charts and dashboards, which are the main two provisions of the Scytec DataXchange machine monitoring platform. Charts are typical historical data that has been culled together and then populated inside of these charts. I'm going to be showing you a couple of these here in just a minute, but right now we have a timeline chart as well as a downtime Pareto chart. So the timeline chart is showing you a historical representation of a time frame that you demand of all the machine statuses put together in one convenient chart form. And then the Pareto chart next to that is showing you the biggest issues that is currently affecting all of your machine downtimes. Next, we have our real-time dashboard. So I showed you before the historical charts. The real-time dashboards, once again, everything is 100% user-defined. What you're looking at here is not necessarily a standard definition for what gets reported in the real time. So going in kind of like a clockwise motion here, we have in the top left corner, we have our real-time equipment view, which can show you the machine statuses and other things that you demand necessary, including things like part and program numbers, work orders, and machine utilization percentages, as well as part per hour percentages. And then the other two images that we see, we have our RTV, our real-time viewer charts, and this is a view that you can have unlimited configurations, unlimited screens. For all of these real-time dashboards, we kind of advocate that these are hung from a TV out on your shop floor or out on a tripod or maybe somewhere in like a lunch or break room where people can monitor this stuff. So the one in the top right is our shop floor layout view. And this can be really any image that you guys decide to upload, but typically we advocate for a top-down kind of schematic view of all the machines out on your shop floor and the current statuses that they're currently in, as well as the other information that you are looking to track underneath it. And then below that, we have a specific RT view for the automatically collected alarms and their down code or their alarm code types, as well as alarm Paretos below that. So as I mentioned, everything is 100% user defined in these real-time dashboards. Anything that you are looking to track, that we can show you how these are presented long before you actually are out there using DataXchange. We walk you through the setup process here at Scytec with our talented team of support individuals. Next up, I'd like to discuss the notification feature set inside of Scytec DataXchange. So the notification features inside of Scytec DataXchange comes in 3 different forms, being Microsoft Teams, text, and email. And messages are sent to those who you demand after either events or certain thresholds are crossed that have been previously defined, have been either crossed or met. So the example I like using is, let's say you have an unattended CNC machine that has been out on your shop floor for 29 minutes. At that 30-minute mark, a notification in either Microsoft Teams, text, or email will be then sent to your operator, alerting them to go out and find out whatever is going on with the machine. And you can also do some interesting escalation type features with this, where after an hour, you can have that sent to a manager, and then at 2 hours, you can have that sent to a supervisor. Now, one of the other notification features I'd like to kind of show you here is this blinking little GIF that you see. That is for the ODI tablet, where, as I mentioned, you would have a operator that is working inside a cell of machines, so that a predetermined threshold, as I kind of went with that 29-minute for the unknown downtime machine. Once that threshold has been crossed, you will see that the machine will start flashing, alerting that operator that is using that tablet to go and attend to that machine. And I keep talking about all these thresholds. This is kind of what separates Scytec DataXchange from some of our competitors, with what you can kind of view as rules. So we set all these rules up for you based off of kind of what you're looking for in terms of issues to tackle, as well as what you're demanding from your machinery, as well as your operators from the get-go. We set all these up with you for these rules from the get-go to make sure that you are getting the information that you need. Finally, I'd like to discuss the Vericut integration and a little offset of that is going to be kind of the way forward for some of the future Scytec DataXchange releases. So our Vericut integration saw the 3rd module recently released this past June with Vericut 9.5, but things started off with the release of Vericut 9.3. And what our Vericut integration is called is CNC machine connectivity, and it is broken down into 3 different modules, including pre-check, CNC machine monitoring, as well as post-check. Now the previous webinar we did back in July, we're going to IMTS, dealt with this integration where we had a product specialist from Vericut online. I definitely urge you guys, if you're using Vericut, to go and check that out, and to also reach out about that for some, kind of better demonstrations about that. But to kind of briefly go over what the 3 modules do. The first one, pre-check, was released in Vericut 9.3, and that kind of shows a one-to-one setup, so that what is simulated in the Vericut simulation, to make sure that that matches what is outside on the physical machine, to make sure that things are set up before work for the first time, so that before you go and run a part, that you can do this pre-check to make sure that things are the same on both the simulation side as well as physical machine. Next, I'd like to discuss our CNC machine monitoring, which is a live feature. This is the 2nd module that was released for this Vericut integration in the release of Vericut 9.4. And this live streaming features allows you to see things in kind of a real-time, Chiron almost, if you will, of all the work offsets and as position overrides kind of stuff. And then finally, this last summer, we had the release of check, which the post-check feature is the ability to play the floor after they've already happened. So think about if you're running a lights out scenario and you come into your shop the next morning and that there was a crash, you can go and replay all inside of Vericut to figure out where all of the issues that took place happened. And I'm going to get into a little bit more about how this post-check kind of feature has also kind of paved the way for future data exchange releases in just a second. But to kind of sum up how this works for this Vericut integration is that Vericut is able to access the real-time data and analytics that data exchange pulls off of them. And this is, as I mentioned earlier, this is going to help manufacturers get the accurate twins possible. So, as I mentioned with post-check, there's a Scytec feature that called DCI that is kind of born of this post-check feature. DCI, it allows a greater level of detail, more data at a faster rate, as additional dashboards for more analytics. And what this is going to lead to in the future for more data exchange updates is lead to better predictive maintenance, predictive part run times. That we have access this pool of information, pulled data exchange, and then stored into AI. We're going to be able to kind of give some manufacturers what they've been asking for in terms of such as predictive maintenance, as I mentioned, as well as part run times. From here, I'm going to over to the demonstration side of this webinar, and we are going to do a quick little walkthrough of some of the kind of mobile features in data display. And as I might have mentioned earlier, data display is our route-based real-time reporting tool. So I'm going to come into our little data display launch pad, and everything can be found at ds.scytec.com in terms of where you can find the downloads for the ODI, as well as the mobile applications for the display, as well as the browser link to data display. They also do have a desktop version which you can download for data exchange. Here we can do kind of a setup related inside of data exchange, but this is what display like, and this is the launch pad where you can find all of the most useful charts and real-time dashboards, as well as the previously created RTV charts down here at the bottom. So the first one that I'd like to show here is our timeline chart. So I'll access this, and up at the top, we can see some of the filtering that we can do for a given time frame. So let's say I want to access the last 3 days worth of information from a certain set of machines, and that this is going from 12 a.m. on September 23rd to 12 a.m. this morning, the September 26th. You can also split things into how they're reported based off of their equipment and plant grouping. So there's something that I have here from the Denver plant that I want to have. I don't want to see that for right now. I want to see specific information from our Fort Collins plant. So I'm going to select all of these machinery from that, which includes a Family I, a Siemens 840D, a DMG Mori, and you can also send over, and not show some of this information like manual operation as well as a PLC device, and you can send that back over. So you can filter out exactly how you see them. And then from there, you can also see things like the general and specific equipment statuses. I always like showing the specific ones. And then you can also show some things such as the machine connected and part numbers here. Well, and then at the bottom, you can do some things like where you can play around with the user interface, how things are displayed in terms of font size, and if they're labeled. And then there we can also kind of, so we don't have to keep doing all this filter over and over again, we can name this chart, and then it'll save back in that launch pad that I showed you earlier, so we don't have to do all this filtering. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what this chart looks like. Now, this is all the requested information from the requested machines and in the time that I was looking for. If you look over here on the far right-hand side, we can see the different machine status as well as their corresponding color, including, being in a normal cycle, unknown downtime, high overrides, alarms, and low overrides, as well as M0 and M1s waiting for an operator. So this will give a detailed breakdown of everything in a given time frame, and their specific machine statuses. And then you can also kind of drill down in here and get a little bit more granular with the machine statuses that are reported. So for this machine, yesterday at around 2 o'clock, we can see that this machine had been cutting for close to 5 hours. Going, left to right here, we can see that an 840 at about 3:30 was in an unknown downtime for about close to 14 minutes, just a little bit over. And then moving down, we can also see that our DMG machine, it was waiting for an operator for close to, or a little bit over 4 hours at the end of the day in that third shift, going from about 6:45 to 8:30. So that is the timeline chart. And that is one of the first charts that we normally advocate for new users to start out with. Next, I would like to show you the equipment status summary chart. And I'm going to, so you can see from the beginning that it's a lot of these similar kind of options where you can select the time frame, the same equipment filterings and plant filterings as well. So I'm going to be selecting the same equipment for column plant, the same way of kind of showing the specific statuses for those machines as opposed to the more broad generic ones that you can pull. I always like showing the more specific cycle statuses. So the main difference in this equipment status summary chart is it shows all of the previous information that I showed with the timeline chart, but it's grouped as a percentage of that given time frame. So we have our FANUC 31i machine, and this is showing us that in that last 3 days, that 65% of that time in that 3 days, that FANUC had been in a normal cycle and cutting as it should be for 65%. It had been in an unknown downtime for 8 hours and 15 minutes, so about 11% of that 3-day period, as well as being in an M0 waiting for an operator for close to 13 hours at a percentage of about 18% for 3 days. Now, I should have probably mentioned this before now, but everything that you were looking at here is simulated machine data to kind of replicate what it would look like for your own machine monitoring experience. But, going down the line here, we can see our DMG was in, it did not have material for close to 4 hours, taking up about 5% of a 3-day time period. Next, I would like to show you the downtime Pareto. And as you can see, there's quite a few different charts that we have here, but I kind of wanted to just go over 3 of the most useful ones that you should be starting out with. Once again, this is kind of all the filtering options. I can skip some of this stuff, but you also have the ability to select different machine statuses in both specific planned and unplanned downtimes. I can go into the reporting for this Pareto chart. So for those of you that are unfamiliar with what a Pareto is, it historically was from an Indian bean farmer that noticed that 80% of his crops were being affected by issues affecting 20%, and that after eliminating that 20% of those issues, that solved big issues out on the top floor affecting the other 80% of them. So that's just kind of what this graph is meant to be indicative of. So we can see that left to right here, we have the biggest issues that are affecting our shop floor. So right now, the biggest issue that is affecting our equipment are M0s, and is accounting for close to 65% of the machine downtime, and that it has been in close to 33 hours for all the machines combined in total of unknown, or that downtime. And we had 37 different occurrences in this 3-day time frame of waiting for operators. And then going down the lines, you can see lesser issues that are still important, such as we had machines that are in alarm for a total of 69 occurrences, accumulating for 13% of all the machine downtimes together. And then you can keep going down and seeing that there's also some tooling issues as well as material. So I'm going to go back out here to our launch pad. And the last thing that I'm going to show you is one of our real-time dashboards with the real-time equipment view. And actually, I already had this open here in another browser. So this is something that we advocate, as I mentioned earlier, to be on a TV that is out on your guy's shop floor, hanging from the ceiling, so all the employees can see it, or inside of a break room where people can still monitor as things are going on. And what's really nice about this is, once again, everything is 100% user definable. So I wanted to actually show you what this looks like first and kind of point out a few things. So up here at the top, we have a Doosan machine, and it has been in an unknown downtime for 22 minutes, and what time this started on, as well as the groupings of the other more generic machine statuses, and as well as a pie chart, and then showing the current machine status here as well for an unknown downtime that has been in that status for 22 minutes. But what's cool about the real-time equipment view is that for some of the filterings that we can do, there's a lot more options that you can go into what you see displayed here in this top little equipment card. So if we go here to current values, we can see all of the things that you can currently select, including things like general and specific equipment status, the general and specific equipment duration, as well as start and stop time, the program numbers, parts per hour plans, good and scrap part counts, the logged in user, whether or not the machine is connected to the DataXchange service, as well as parts per hour, scrap notes, and really just a whole litany of information that you can have populate on these little equipment cards here. But I wanted to show you something kind of very basic as well. And you can also get utilization graphs inside here as well. So that about wraps it up for the data display demonstration side of things. We have the ability to export this information into Excel documents as well. And so, like I said, we have the ability to save all of these charts so that you don't have to do all of the filtering. Once you do all the filtering and you name and save the chart, it'll populate down here in the save chart section. And then once you have a saved chart ready to go, you can also then have a what's called a scheduled chart, where we'll say that 7:30 every morning, you guys have a production meeting right before going out and doing a gimbal walk. You can have that save chart emailed to you on a recurring basis so that you go into those production meetings ready to go with all the necessary information that you need. And then down here at the bottom of this launch pad, as I mentioned, we also do have our real-time viewer with the ability to have the historical charts as well as real-time information in there as well too. And I'll show you here just a quick one here as well that I showed in a screenshot earlier. But this is an alarm view, and this is all of the automatically alarms, their alarm types, the codes, how long they have been in there, as well as the Paretos in there as well. And all of your RTV real-time viewer views are 100% user definable. There's unlimited screens, there's unlimited views. You can see in the top little section here how many screens are in each one of them. As I mentioned as well, we have our shop floor layout view, one that I like showing, where you can get a bird's eye overview of, like what's going on with your shop floor equipment, as if you were looking down on them in a schematic kind of view. So we have a Akuma that has been in a low override for 19 minutes, a Doosan that just started a low override, followed by a Mori machine that has been in an unknown downtime for 31 minutes. So that about wraps it up here for the demonstration side of things. I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint here. So from here, I'd kind of like to point you out to some of the resources that you can find out more information about DataXchange, and you can go to our Scytec.com website to find out a bunch of things as well, including our Scytec YouTube channel, where you can find out, you have all of the historically recorded webinars, as well as feature videos that kind of break things down for all the individual Scytec DataXchange features and offerings. Now, the way that we support our current client base is we also do have a help website at Scytec University, as what we call it. It can be accessed at dxhelp.scytec.com, or if you're having, some trouble with, certain features or something like that, or you want to know a little bit more about or what went into like a recent release, you can come here, you can type in something into that search bar, and it'll populate with FAQs walkthroughs and video tutorials. That's just one of many ways about how we support our current client base. Now, this was meant to be a very high-level kind of overview of everything data exchange related. We're going to be doing another one of these at the end of October that'll go into basically what we weren't able to cover here this morning. And then at the end of November, I'm going to be doing another webinar that goes over all of the data exchange releases. We do this every year. We have a year-end update review where we, detail all of the most important features and whatever new improvements to data exchange that transpired throughout that given year. So finally, I'm going to leave this on here, or I'm going to leave this on here for a second. But first, I just wanted to reach out to you guys. If you have any questions, there is a little heads up display inside of Zoho where you can type in any questions that you guys have, and we will be getting to those here in just a few minutes. But if you'd like to find out more, please scan this QR code and it'll be taking you to a form done by our reseller that you guys probably remember. They were Shop Floor Automations if you were out at IMTS this year. This form will take you to what we would kind of call a preliminary demo, which is more of an exploratory call where our resellers are going to ask some questions about, like what your equipment looks like, as I discussed earlier with, is there a Ethernet port on it, etc. So I'm going to leave this up here for about 3 minutes for all you to either scan that. And you can also find this at shopfloorautomations.com/data exchange-more-info. So if you guys have any questions, please input those into the Zoho heads up display, and I will be answering those here in about 3 minutes.